so long. Oh, how I hate to see you go. Well, so long, baby. Oh, how I hate to see you go. Well, the way that I would miss you, child, I guess you'll never know. You said you once said love me, but now I guess you've changed your mind. You said you once said love me, yeah, but now I guess you've changed your mind. I'm gonna let you go ahead on home now, baby. Pray that you come back home sometime. Together so long to have to separate this way. We've been together so long to have to separate this way. Well, I'm gonna let you go ahead on home now, baby. Pray that you come back home someday. Yeah.
Yeah, he says at the end, hi everybody, how are you tonight? I see a lot of people saying, yep, okay, so I'm just going to go on with the comments here.
I'm here to tell you that's the same voice that's on that song Elvis sung where he's singing about going back to Memphis, where he's talking about driving a truck. You know, the one I put on there where he was cussing. Sound like the same voice.
Yeah, well, that's definitely an older... That was done by Civil Nora. It's on his Civil Sings Again album. A lot of clues involved with that album. We will be covering that in this book when we get to it, the chapters for that. But yeah, to me, it's definitely Elvis's voice in that recording. I personally loved it when Elvis sang the blues, and he sings that very well. I love that song. Anyway, and I think he also covered it under John Burroughs and Elvis Found Alive. He also recorded it there too. And I mean, you could do a nice comparison between Elvis singing it. Well, he was very young. You'd have to find an older version, maybe in the 70s, of him singing that song. Because the voice changes a little bit. He sang it lower, I think, in the 70s. Like Heartbreak Hotel, he's sang lower key as well. If you compared that one with the Civil Nora version and the John Burroughs from Elvis Found Alive, they sound a lot alike. Okay. Anyway, so hi, Diana. How are you tonight? We are doing well. I think Jim had already said hello to you. And okay, so he said Jim said your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to say that I don't think he had much of a say in the whole thing. I mean, Priscilla was involved in that. Is religion involved? Maybe he felt would be good for her to do. Who knows? We don't know her plan, but I guess Scientology was something that actually
got news for you.
Grounded her a little bit. What?
Church of Scientology has nothing to do with religion. They're a bunch of scumbag piece of shit con artists is all they are.
Right, but people get caught up in that and they get sucked up into that and they get involved in that. And at the time, that's what happened is they got involved in that. And I think a lot of the people that run EPE are still involved in Scientology. So obviously it's all mixed in. I don't think he was a big fan of it, no, and but he was also very open to all kinds of faiths and
Exactly,
beliefs
Sandy.
and
It's a
everything.
cult.
So,
Exactly what he said.
yeah, he
Sandy said
wasn't
it
a
was a
big
cult.
fan, and he
I said
still isn't.
exact. I said exactly. That's exactly what Cubs called it when they approached him back in the 70s. He told them to go to hell. He said, "Y'all
Right,
ain't nothing but a damn cult. I ain't joining that."
right. But unfortunately, Lisa Marie and Priscilla did. So, I mean, I don't think that he had much of a control in that. That church is very, very, or whatever you want to call it, is very involved with EPE and everything. So, and I think has a lot to do with why the secret is buried so well. Anyway,
You see that other pack?
so Diana Ross says she hopes you're doing good, Jim.
I'm all right.
Julianne says hello, Julianne. Yeah, and Diana Smith, hello. So we had two Dianas on. It gets really confusing. We're doing good, Chanel. How are you tonight? That sounds like Elvis singing. I agree. Hi, Sandy. How are you tonight? Yeah, definitely is Elvis to me. That's right. Beautiful Elvis voice. Hi, Michelle. How are you tonight? All right. I haven't seen Purple yet. What's her name there? Lynette? I haven't seen her yet. Maybe she's gone down. It's a cult. Exactly. Thanks, sir. You're welcome, Diana. All right. So, speaking of cults, we are going to continue on with the Passover Plot. Elvis was involved, used to study many different religions, including the occults back in the day. So we are going to continue on with this theory that Gail has about using the book, The Passover Plot. Let's see if I can remember the name of the or I'm going to look up the name of the author of that if I can find it. No, I can't remember the name of the author. Sorry. And he had a bunch of other books that he read. So we left off with I'm just going to continue on here. She said the Los Angeles Herald Examiner's Mitchell Fink noted the possibility of Elvis using the Passover Plot as a roadmap of what he did. Like Jesus hoaxed his death, which we know Jesus did not hoax his death, but according to this book, he claimed he did. So that book, The Passover Plot. Okay. So note the following extracts I've made from a fan, Fern B. of Mentor, Ohio, who sent it to me on October 16, 1989. A man looking for the reasons for who he was and why he was put on this earth to be what he had become might feel that the answers to all the questions could be found in the Bible or other books. We find in Jesus' symbol both the martyrdom and the aspirations of a man, and therefore we must cling to him as the embodiment of the assurance that our life has meaning and a purpose. I believe that after reading the Passover Plot, it could plant in some people's minds a way of removing themselves without actually removing them at all. The perfect plan. I found the dates of Jesus' crucifixion similar to those of Elvis's death. The times of Jesus' death and the resurrection similar to the time that some say Elvis died and was when he was found, and to read that Jesus had been taken to the Garden of Gethsemane after his death caught my attention. Naturally, Elvis read this. So now all close family members are buried in Graceland's meditation gardens. So Schoenfield states, okay, so Schoenfield must be the name of the author, states that Jesus would have used only close friends, a few, family to help him fake his own death. Like the beloved disciple, who was he? Not even the Bible tells us. Was Dr. Nick Elvis's beloved disciple? All right. And no one reading Passover Plot cannot stop when reading that maybe Jesus used drugs to make himself look dead. I do not believe this, but for someone looking for answers, as Elvis was, this would have helped him plan for death, to cheat death, to give the appearance of death. I'm glad I'm not reading the Passover Plot. Anyway, Jesus stayed in the public eye before his death, as did Elvis himself. According to Schoenfield, if Jesus was alive, who could tell how or when he would appear, what he would look like? Had not Elijah been revealed as a guide to John the Baptist? Did Elvis, after reading the same words, use the name John or John Burroughs because it was done in the Bible? The word burrow means to hide oneself in a burrow or a place of refuge. Strange. Okay. So Fern's letters concerning Elvis and the Passover Plot was not the only one I received. Moreover, a very tattered copy of the January 1977 edition of Passover Plot paperback arrived in the mail. There was no note, no reference as to who sent it, and because of the amount of mail, clippings, books, and so on coming into this office, the best I can do is say that the envelope may have had an Ohio postmark, because I did not know the significance behind the arrival of the book. The envelope went into the trash can with other envelopes. I had to rummage around in order to find the one I believed it arrived in. The book's significance was in some of its underlinings, such as the root of Jesse. So Elvis's twin was Jesse, his root, but also the root of Jesse. What they referred to David as the root of Jesse. David was Jesse's, the line of Jesse in the Bible. Okay, so Jesus's death at 41 or under 50. Elvis's death was at 42. Free of mind of preconceived ideas, destroy an illusion and a man behind the myth, the king in the line of David. And Jesus was taunted with being a demon-possessed Samaritan. Elvis, although generous, and also said to be devil possessed. I don't think so, but whatever. A call to office, killed and raised on the third day. Jesus wasn't was the eldest of a fairly large family and brought up in humble circumstances. Although Elvis was an only child, he came from a large extended family. He saw himself acting out the prophecies. It was from the banks of the Jordan that Elijah had taken up to heaven. And now, in the guise of John, as it could be thought, he had come back to as foretold, like reincarnation. Okay, anyway. And Jesus was not alone in supposing that John was Elijah returned, reincarnated again. And Jesus was in his psychic experience. Those are some of the underlyings and my parenthetical commentary. Anyway, so another letter writer pointed out the following from the Passover Plot about Jesus. Amazingly, the observations fit Elvis as well, and thus one can appreciate why Elvis placed the book in high esteem. This child was to prove to be no ordinary boy, for he was destined to play a unique part in history. This is how we must understand him, as the one above all others who showed mankind how to make their dreams come true. His disciples became familiar with his spells of silence, which they feared to break. They would be walking with him, talking animately among themselves, even arguing heatedly, virtually ignoring his presence. Suddenly he would say something, either at the time or later, which showed that he was not wholly inattentive and had heard their conversation. He says and does things quite unexpected by his intimate associates, which takes them by surprise or which they are unable to fathom. They may like to think they are wholly in his confidence, and even that he will do what they have in mind for him, but he baffles and defeats them and makes arrangements of which they have not been cognizant to secure his objectives. The effects of all he may have endured as he contemplated what was to come, and dared not betray his secret, were bound to take their toll and show themselves in his physical appearance. Rapidly, his fame spread far and wide, and his name became an overnight legend, nothing too impossible to be credited to him. There were those, on the other hand, who were scandalized by his teaching and behavior, particularly members of the Pharisee fraternity, who considered themselves to be the custodians of the nation's moral and spiritual instruction. The more straight-laced of them winced at some of the things he said and were offended by the freedom of his conduct. Like a man who has experienced what is called conversion, he felt in himself that he was a new being, and this feeling would have been stimulated by his sudden emancipation from the tension engendered by long years of waiting, by the knowledge that he had the liberty to speak and act now instead of having everything pent up inside him. 6, it says, Jesus had now to prepare for the most difficult and dangerous part of his present mission, which demanded the utmost caution and the most careful organization and timing. He could not look to his disciples to assist him directly in the arrangements for his coming ordeal. He died at 3:00 p.m. at about the age 41. Two things, however, were indispensable to the success of a rescue operation. The first was to administer the drug to which the impression of premature death, and the second was the speedy delivery of the body of Joseph. All right. So, if he was to cheat death, it was essential that, well, in advance of time, he would have to give every appearance of being dead. Further, help must speedily be forthcoming. Unless his body came to possession of friendly hands, there would be no possibility of his recovery. We would have to imagine how Jesus contrived to give the impression of death and suggest a way in which his body could have been secured by his friends. We have only to allow that in this as in other circumstances, Jesus made private arrangements with someone he could trust who would have to be in a position to accomplish his design. And number 10, when stripped of supernaturalism, the empty tomb may point rather to the removal of the body from the place where a woman had seen it laid and its burial elsewhere. But if the body of Jesus was taken from the tomb by his friends on Saturday night, we should be ready to agree that the Gospels, that the immediate disciples of Jesus knew nothing about this, and they would be quite sincere in indignantly repudiating any contention that they had been guilty of perpetuating a fraud or hoaxing a death. If Jesus was alive, who could tell how or when he would appear, and what would he look like? Again, an important ingredient is the failure to identify Jesus, this time by his own relatives. Neither had there been any fraud on the part of Jesus himself. He had schemed in faith for his physical recovery. And when a few saw him, they were in awe, but some doubted. The special conditions that produced him at a peculiar and pregnant moment in history are never likely to occur again. And I'm going to say this book was a bunch of hogwash. Because we all know Jesus died a horrible death on the cross. Real life death. It is recorded, and he died and was buried. He did not fake his death. All I'm going to say about that. Anyway. All right. But I'm just reading what she has summarized from this particular book. It does kind of go with some of what Elvis did. And I'm not saying that, Elvis didn't fake his death, but Jesus definitely did not fake his death. But anyway, besides the point. Since I was always interested in what Elvis fans have to say, they being the backbone of the Elvis phenomenon, some of the following offer insight. The following letter is a fun game of substitutions of today's names for yesterday's, and it offers some material for thinking. By the way, the page numbers of Audrey N's letter probably come from the hardback edition of the Passover Plot. There are a few excerpts from the book with Elvis's name in the place of Jesus's. Elvis made private arrangements with someone he could trust, who would be in position to accomplish this design. Okay. Was this person a member of the family or a friend? After the task, this person disappears completely from view. Afterwards, there is no indication of association with Elvis. Elvis plotted and schemed with the utmost skill, making secret arrangements, taking advantage of every circumstance conducive to the attainment of his objectives. It is difficult to credit that he had neglected to do anything about the supreme crisis of his career, when it was imperative that he should outwit the forces arrayed against him and wrest victory from the very jaws of death. Elvis would have to give every appearance of being dead. Further, help must speedily be forthcoming. Unless his body came into possession of friendly hands, there would be no possibility of his recovery. Elvis contrived to give the impression of death and suggested a way in which the body could have been secured by his friend. Considerations of safety and secrecy will have dictated that as few people as possible should be in the know or involved, and these would have included any of the Memphis Mafia. the letter writers substitutes for disciples, to whom he never confided his plans. All right. His was a mastermind, and the one whom he gave his instruction neither worked together nor were acquainted with more than their specific function. The Memphis Mafia knew nothing that would be quite sincere in indignantly repudiating any contention that they had been guilty of perpetrating a fraud. Elvis may not have overlooked that he might taste death in spite of the measure he secretly taken for his survival. He knew, however, that his fans or followers would be in anguish. Clearly, some did not recognize the man they later saw as Elvis. Some rushed to tell of having seen Elvis. Another ingredient was added to the myth. If Elvis is alive, who could tell how or when or where he would appear, what he would look like? Cheered by his strange discourses, the fans were soon telling each other that the man seen must be Elvis. And if few saw him, they were in awe, but some doubted. Neither had there been any fraud on the part of Elvis himself. He had schemed in faith for his physical recovery. Special conditions which produced him at a peculiar and poignant or pregnant moment in history. Yeah, it says pregnant, not poignant. Anyway, are never likely to occur again. So what I found interesting in the many letters I received regarding Elvis and the Passover Plot is how similar the analyses have been. Here are the extracts from one of from Joan G. of Portage, Indiana, telling the most careful scheming and plotting to produce them. Moves and situations had been anticipated. Rulers and associations had performed their functions without realizing that they were being used. Two things, however, were indispensable to the success of the rescue operation. First, administer a drug to give the impression of a premature death, and second, obtaining a speedy delivery of the body to whoever it was on it. Here, Joan is paraphrasing the book. This sounds quite interesting. Jesse Elvis did admit that he did take some type of sedative. It said an injection in his book. In the movie, he said a sedative. He also could have used some type of yoga breathing technique as well. Which I think we'll probably cover that another day. But anyway, it's quite interesting. But anyway, so from Marcella B. of Belleville, Illinois, came the following note. In the Passover Plot, I find most interesting the following passages. People struggling frantically to reach him, to touch even the sacred fringe of his robe as he passed. By the end of most days, he was utterly exhausted and he could not get away. And he himself saw to it that he would not be forgotten and that he would be continually pestering and challenging us. In spite of everything done to stop him in his own time and since, he has continued to come through. One of the words underlined in the copy of the Passover Plot sent to me was the word atonement, which brought an interesting observation from Linda S. of Maiden, North Carolina. In looking at the Naive's topical Bible under atonement, I found that so many of the scriptures pertaining to atonement mention Aaron, Aaron. Check it out. Now, we could look up these Leviticus 16, 1 through 35, Numbers 8, verse 21, Exodus 30, 7 through 10, Numbers 16, 46 through 50, Hebrews 5, 1 through 4, Hebrews 9, 1 through 7, Leviticus 9, verse 7. We could, but I'm not going to do that. These are the scriptures she said. If anyone wants these, I can type them out later and on the messenger, and you guys can look them up. But anyway, maybe this is the reason the Day of Atonement was underlined in your copy, because looking for that in the Bible would take us to the name Aaron. I don't know what it means, but I found it interesting. Okay. Now we know Aaron was brother of Moses, and he was a priest in the so it could be something to do with that, the Day of Atonement. We're not sure. You'll have to read that on your own. All right. So repetitious as it had been in hundreds of letters, the point of the repetition is to illustrate the similarities that Elvis must have found in the Passover Plot. Knowing Elvis's deep spiritual connection with Jesus, one cannot help but wonder if Elvis hoaxed his death, did he use the book as a spiritual roadmap? It's a possibility. We don't know. Faye H. Tulsa, Oklahoma wrote, I have read and studied the Passover Plot and find it very interesting. One thing I found fascinating and almost a dead giveaway is the shedding of the Jesus white clothes and leaving them neatly folded in the tomb. When did anyone ever change clothes on a corpse? Yet, on page 439 in the paperback book of Elvis, We Love You Tender, D. Presley's stepmother described Elvis as dressed in white suit, looking frighteningly different. And then on page 440, she says he was changed to pale blue suit, which Vernon had given him for Christmas. Were the cheap white clothes used to show our humble Savior? Or, as another writer observed, was the changing of the clothes symbolic to the changing of Jesus' death robes? If the Passover Plot was not on display, perhaps others, notably Mitchell Fink of the Los Angeles Herald Examiner, would wonder whether the book wasn't a clue. Even with an amusing eye, it does make one wonder. And the fact is, the Passover Plot was a favorite book of Elvis's, a book that describes a step-by-step that Jesus was no milk and water Messiah, but rather one who was a master of his own destiny, including his death. All right. So Larry Geller said that Elvis asked that he bring him the book, and it's not the Shrouded Turin, but it's a grave cloth book of Jesus, but it's not that particular book. She had the wrong book. Can't remember the name of it. A scientific search of a Shroud of Turin, but it's not the same book that she's thinking. Anyway, among others, and with according to what Charlie Hodge wrote, the addictive that Elvis was expecting to find something in its reading. Okay. It was the last book found beside the body, a book concerning the shroud bearing what is thought to be the image of Jesus, an image thought to be the result of some cosmic force that brought Jesus back to life, while other scholars and experts think that the shroud is a hoax.
They're all foolish.
Right. Well, they've done plenty of testing on the shroud, and they definitely say it dates back to the time of Jesus's death. It is the what they call the covering that they put on the body, like grave clothing they did, or the way the Jewish used to bury their dead, and then they would it kind of almost like mummifies them a little bit, and they're wrapped up in grave clothing, like cloth, and the image of his bloodied face is on the cloth. Okay. And many people have actually used that, especially nowadays with AI technology, and they've actually come up with some interesting um like pictures of maybe how Jesus actually looked like, which is quite interesting. But anyway, so we call that in both the Bible and the Passover Plot, Jesus' tomb was found empty except for the shroud. Is Elvis's tomb likewise empty? Many of the letters I received asked the following question. In these, in other words, I saw a letter on display at the $1 Million Museum, which outlined some of Elvis's beliefs. One part struck me deeply. Elvis wrote, "You are soon recognizing a brighter light within yourself, the sharing of that light with others, and feeling the importance of stressing or distributing the love and will of God. Do you think it's possible that in order for Elvis to reach God, he may had to give up his life he was leading? That to share his light, he had to use the cloak of darkness?" My answer will draw largely from Larry Geller's book, according to the Geller's If I Can Dream. The entertainer said that the life he was leading had gone on far too long, and Elvis shared other intimate thoughts that were of a spiritual nature. He, Elvis, had a mission and wanted to know if Geller was behind him. He explained that this mission had to do with a secret spiritual life. He said that changes would occur soon, for he felt it was going to happen. Elvis told Geller that he believed that when one twin died, the other inherited his qualities. Recall in Is Elvis Alive? The strange phone call I received on after August 16, 1977, from a man sounding like Elvis and saying almost the same thing. Remember also that I could not have copied such a statement from Larry's book because Geller's book was released after my own. As Elvis' studies deepened, he became fascinated with numbers, letters, and symbols as they related to the universe. This systematic order was a source of enlightenment to him. Elvis discovered that the Bible was full of hidden meanings, codes, mystical revelations. If Elvis were to abandon one life for another, it would fall into his psyche to leave clues, codes, and hidden meanings. Elvis discovered that in Judaism, rabbis changed people's names according to the principle of numerology. In other words, Elvis may have changed his middle name from Aaron to Aaron. As Geller said, he did indeed do, so that the resulting numbers and combination of numbers would be better to interpret his character or fate. Elvis, after hearing the explanation of the Hebrew word chai, meaning life, began wearing the symbol for it. And there is a picture of him wearing that symbol, it's chai or chi, and his like last concerts. It looks like a N, kind of looks like an N symbol. That was quite interesting. So Geller underlines that Elvis was one of the brightest, most intelligent of men, devouring books, not simply reading them, but absorbing them, writing his thoughts in the margins, underlining, and most of the books dealt with spiritual quests with opening up. Elvis had a major religious experience in the desert, as did Jesus, in that it was a revelation. It underlined the truth that God is love. Elvis told Geller he wanted to become a monk and join a monastery. Doesn't this mean giving one's life to God, dropping out, giving up the material for the spiritual, to becoming Christ-like, as pure in soul as possible? Do you believe that Elvis Presley had the depth of spirit to give up his fans, his wealth, his entertaining for the love of God? Priscilla stated that he would not have done this to his fans, and I believe that is a true statement. But would he have done it for the love of God? Yes, is also a true statement. Elvis told Geller that he would never allow himself to degenerate into a 50-year-old entertainer. Elvis told others this too, even saying that he would not make it past 40, which he didn't. Geller states that if Elvis had really contemplated his own death, it is conceivable that he would have chosen to be buried in the meditation gardens at Graceland. The only thing Elvis ever mentioned to Geller about funeral or arrangements is that people shouldn't wear black. Remember, Geller's book was copyrighted in 1989. Orion was copyrighted in 1978. Yet, read the following excerpt from Orion. Okay, so now we're going to read this excerpt from her book. He stood beside the church organ and listened to the Reverend Walker praise Esther Jackson. Orion's eyes wandered from one familiar face to another. The small church was packed. People were standing in the aisles and even lined up outside in the dark and cold. Reverend Walker had attached the loudspeaker to the front of the church so that outside would not miss his eulogy or the music. Orion had written a song that very afternoon. As his eyes traveled from face to face, Orion wondered what they thought and what they did with those thoughts. He noticed most everyone was dressed in black. There seemed to be something incongruous about that. After all, God was life and light. None only met God after death. One only met God after death. Therefore, why black? They should be dressed in white, the color of Jesus' robe. And he had felt the tinge of remorse when he heard of Esther Jackson's passing, although he had been as close to her as was Tuck, and it seemed Tuck was always losing someone close. Well, one thing is for sure, promised Orion. When I die, I shall be buried in white, pure white. Okay. So Elvis was so anxious to attain higher knowledge that he wanted to take shortcuts. Finally, he realized that there were no instant techniques, but rather the dedication of years and years of study and practice. Higher knowledge was a secret revealed to only the learned. It was a moral transgression to seek it but by shortcut. The legitimate fear Elvis had was to be taken advantage of financially. Once his quest for spiritual learning was known, in my opinion, for Elvis to study as Elvis would have been a disaster. A quiet solitude of mind and body would have been threatened. Even the knowledge that he could be located at any given moment would have taken a psychological toll, prohibiting him from true learning. So Elvis would always have had to be looking over his shoulder. Further, once he completed his spiritual studies and attaining his goals, how could an Elvis Presley go out into the world and walk among the common man? Who would listen to what he had to say? In fact, he had remarked more than once that no one, especially many of his fans, really ever listened to him. They were caught up in the image, not the man. No, there is absolutely no way Elvis Presley could remain Elvis Presley and not be imprisoned in an image of a sexy rock and roller with swivel hips. The imaged Elvis Presley would never have been taken seriously as Brother Presley. If Elvis did indeed hibernate and go into secret spiritual studies, only a select few could be allowed to know. So Elvis admitted to Geller that his mission in life was to bring happiness to the lives of people, but that there might be something more in store for him, and he hoped God would use him in bigger ways. Elvis told Geller that he continually asked God to show him the way, to give him strength, to help him find his true mission in life. This Elvis loved plans and projects. When Vernon's marriage fell apart, Elvis saw that everything around him was breaking down. Apparently, Elvis tried to break free. Later, Elvis would do and say things that suggested that he might make some substantial move toward the change in life. Elvis spoke of sweeping changes and making a new start. And by 1976, Elvis was talking of going to Europe, of going to Japan. Was impossible, though, due to the colonel's citizenship status, which was apparent that Elvis would never be allowed, as Elvis, to see such a planet Earth before his leaving of it, unless. So by April 1977, Geller says Elvis was on the brink of making major changes in his life. By the end of April, Elvis was talking about a secret spiritual life and a special mission. By the end of May, he told Geller something described as top secret. Basically, Elvis was going to clean house, which included getting rid of the colonel and the Memphis Mafia, and he knew who his real friends were, and he wanted to live a different life. The one he was living had gone on long enough. And I think I had read that excerpt before, out of If I Can Dream. He mentioned that he was going to clean house. Further, Elvis told Geller that different kind of life would occur by the end of summer, and that it would happen. So there was a hint that he was planning something by the end of summer. And this chapter is very long. So there's like 5 or 6 more pages left. So I'm going to continue it next week because that's a lot of reading. And there's a lot here. All right. So I'll just read the last bullet point she has here. Less than 3 months later, on August 16th, it did end. But this writer questions, did it end the way we were told, or is it possible it ended the way Elvis planned it? His way. All right. So there will be a part 3 of this chapter because it is quite long. All right. So, I don't know. Do you think he used that book as a big influence in his helping him plan staging his death? Okay. That book was basically written on the premise thinking that Jesus staged his death and he really didn't die and all that stuff. But we all know in the Bible And there's many accounts that he actually did die and rise on the third day. And he didn't fake his death and all that stuff. But it's quite interesting that that one book could influence somebody who wanted to plan his death or get out of wherever he was doing. Okay. So now I'm going to say hi to everybody else here that I left off. Hi, Jermaine. How are you today? And of course, Jim already said hello. Hi there, everyone. I was making dinner for me and my mom. Hi, Rhonda, Gail. No problem. We're glad you came to join us. Hi, Rita. How are you? That's okay. No problem. He wasn't 41. He was 33, right? I think so. I think Jesus was 33 when he died. Like I said, the book was a little off, I think. But anyway. Hi, Rita. Right, Andy. Correct. So Jesus was 33 when he died and rose. Yeah. All right. Like I said, I don't agree with that Passover plot because there's some things that are wrong in it. Biblically wrong. I'm reading everyone's conversation. Is there been any recent news on Elvis lately? Just the Elvis. Well, I did put something out 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Actually, maybe the end of March, the last day of March. Linda stated that she called him and he's still dealing with ailments from his aging and his regular ailments, pain in his back and stuff, arthritis, pain, neuropathy, dealing with the neuropathy in his feet. So, yeah, just pray, keep him in your prayers. I don't think there's anything else news. I checked today. There was nothing new. That was the latest. I think it was March 31st or maybe April 1st that I might have put that out. You could check the group as well, Rita. It might be on there or on ETMIA 18357 on Facebook. Yes, Rita. Linda spoke to him. Oh, yeah. Okay. She said she didn't understand what he was saying. She had a problem with his phone. Right. And then he had a neuropathy issue and pain in his back, severe pain. He's dealing with a lot of pain. Oh, yeah. Jesus was 33 when he died, not 41. And Gail had him as 41 years old. Every time Jesus. Right. Exactly, Sandy. Yep. Now I just read that from Gail's booking. Now Gail's not perfect person, so just remember that. And we don't know if maybe the Passover plot had the age incorrect as well. That she was quoting from there, so I don't know. Right. He was 33 when he died. We don't know why she's got 41. They have neuropathy. I know how painful it is, burning the feet. Terrible, horrible, unbearable. Yeah, and I think it's so bad that he sits in a wheelchair quite often because it affects his walking and stuff, and standing. And I'm not sure if the operation has anything to do with that. We don't know anything about that. Thanks. You're welcome. Hi, Francis. How are you? Luke. 3:23 in the Bible. Does Jesse Elvis talk to anyone else in his family besides Jim? Yeah, I think so.
I imagine so. I ain't the only one.
I know that he talked. Okay, I can tell you that. All I know is, yes, he does talk to different people. He talks to Linda on the phone and probably some other friends on the phone. Probably his family as well. We don't know who and when and what, but yeah. Oh, nice to communicate with Jim. Yeah. I don't think he's communicated to Jim in a while. I know he talks to Linda, so we can get information from Linda as well.
Yeah. Last time I heard from him was Christmas. Last time I heard anything out of him.
Right. I don't think that Jim is denying that the Bible is not true and that it's not God's word. He just doesn't like the fact that it's translated so much that it strays a little from the original text or the context of the words because of language changes over the centuries. All right, so like it could have changed the meaning sometimes, like it depends on the translation of the Bible. It could mean something different, like if you were to read one version and then read the same scripture in another version, it might change the wording, it might summarize it different, paraphrase it, water it down than what the original context. So it's not that Jim doesn't believe in the Bible or what it says, it's the fact of the difference in the translations over the centuries. I told him if you were to read the Bible, you could try reading the Geneva Bible. That one's so hard because the English is so bad. The words are spelled so bad. If you ever seen the Geneva Bible, anybody who wants to do that, go on to your Bible app and look it up or online. You will be surprised
Well,
at how the words were spelled.
I'll just say this. I've read the original Hebrew scriptures translated to English, and it ain't even nowhere close to what this modern day Bible puts out there.
Right. So I mean, you're better off going with a literal translation, which is the closest ones or the oldest ones that you can find that you can actually read without saying, "What does that say now?" Because they changed the spelling of words. So like a literal translation is better off, or one that has a Greek and Hebrew dictionary where you could look up the word and it'll tell you the Greek and what it means. And so the study of the Bible, very good. Anyway. Glad to see those past to those severe storms. Yeah. I think he was in the path. He's in Arkansas. I don't know. Did any of those storms affect you at all, Jim?
Every one of them have been raining for 2 days down here. Tornado sirens were going off last night constantly.
Yeah. So, but he's safe. His family's safe. So we'll just keep everyone in prayer. I'm glad that you're doing okay, Jim and family. Yes. Right. I heard Nashville, Tennessee has really bad flooding. Wow. Yeah.
Nashville had a tornado today too.
Yeah.
Just a second ago.
Elvis was beautiful and still young at 42. Yes. And at 90 years old, I heard he was still beautiful. Just hold. uh, Hi there, Sandy. This weather has been weird across the country. Yeah.
He's the same man he's always been. He just got old as Methuselah. That's all.
Yeah. And he has access to plastic surgery, so he looks really young. Well, I don't know. I'm only kidding. I don't really know what he looks like because I don't have any pictures of him. The only one I have is the one that Linda gave. Anyway, wonder if it's flooded around Graceland. I don't think so. I heard Memphis has gotten a lot of rain too. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about Graceland being flooded or anything around Graceland. I listened to Elvis radio today and they said nothing. So I'm assuming it's good. It's still okay. Yeah, like tornadoes, like deadly ones. I mean, they had some really bad ones down south, like Arkansas and Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, all the southern states.
Missouri got hammered too.
In Missouri, yes. In Missouri. I heard there was a tornado that kind of hit, but like it was near like 100 miles away from Memphis or something. But all I've gotten up here is just rain.
I ain't heard nothing out of Memphis. I'm only a couple hours from Memphis. I ain't heard much about them. I know they're getting rain.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that if it was damaged at any point, I'm sure it would be all over the news. Definitely. You know. Wow. Yeah. My dad's been twice. I've never been. Jim's been a couple times, I guess. Graceland. It was the late 80s and early 90s. Ah. Cool.
Yeah, I won't go back. Cost too much money to go through Graceland. They got crazy with them prices down there.
Yeah. Elvis did it his way, yes. Too expensive though, I heard. Yep. Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Oh, hi, Purple Green. I was just mentioning you earlier. I said, hey, she's not on yet. Hi, Lynette. How are you tonight? No, we started like 2 minutes before our normal time. So we didn't start early. I think you were just a little late. That's okay. No problem. It's recorded so you can watch it later if you want. Me too. I'm in a wheelchair too with the neuropathy. Sometimes it's hard to walk, Joy. Right. And my dad's got neuropathy. He uses like compression socks and he's on medication for it. So his isn't as advanced. But yeah. And he's so uneasy on his feet, he scares me. But he says it can be very painful. But he's on like medication for it. I don't remember what kind, but
Probably either Lyrica or gabapentin.
I'm not sure what it is, but he's on some type of medication, non-addictive, obviously, and he's on a lot of pain reliever for his arthritis. Anyway, so yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I check it every 3 days or so. I check it, and I will update. I usually update the group on Facebook and on the Facebook page. I usually don't update here. I'll just do it on video, but on there I update. All right. And we have all these highs. Hi, Diana. Okay. That's it. Oh. Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if he'd want us to see him, though, at that age. I think he wants us to remember him young. Or in his picture with Benjamin. Graceland looked higher ground. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, you ain't got to worry about Graceland getting flooded. If it floods that house out, it better do some raining because that house sits 20 feet, 25 foot above everything around it.
Yeah, it's pretty high up, right? It's on like a
Yep.
hill.
Yep.
Okay, so we moved our clocks back 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and I've been like kind of jumping on. Actually, I jumped on at 8 o'clock today, so yeah, we were early. I think I jumped back on at 8 o'clock today. I'm sorry,
Nah,
Purple Queen.
I'll tell you something about Memphis. If they get that much rain that is getting up into the house at Graceland, you can forget it. You ain't even going to Memphis. You're not even going to be able to get in the city. It's going to be underwater.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Joy, about your dad. Yeah, my dad, he's 79 and has arthritis and neuropathy and eye issues and aging, I'm on again. Patton doesn't help much. I bet he had something stronger with all his pain. Probably. I don't think it's addictive though anymore. Who knows what he's on? We don't know. He may be old, but his essence will remain the same. We love you, Elvis. Yes, yeah. And his sense of humor, his laughter. Oops, I think we lost this one. I'm going to take this one down. Is that okay? You're on twice here. Okay, there we go. I don't know.
Now, you talking about your dad being 79. He just got the normal things that goes along with getting old. We all got it.
Yeah.
I got neuropathy. I got arthritis, and the neuropathy's got so bad I don't even have no feeling in my legs no more. I have no feeling in my feet, my legs, or anything. So I don't have that burning.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think his feet are burning. I think he just gets like I said, he's got compression socks on and really bad arthritis. So yeah, and diabetes and all that. Yeah, I heard getting old stinks, but at least I know one thing: I'm blessed to still have my parents. Both of my parents are still alive.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed with that so far.
You are that. Both of mine gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. We truly love Elvis. Whatever. Yeah. Well, we will always love him. That's for sure. At least his music is still very much alive. And we can listen to it on satellite. If anyone has a chance to listen to it on satellite radio, Elvis station.
They won't ever stop talking about Elvis or playing his music. I don't care if this world's standing 20,000 years from now, they'll still be playing it and talking about the stuff he achieved.
What I like about Elvis radio is that sometimes they put some.
And at one time, he actually thought everybody would forget him when he was gone.
I know. They put some of those clips of his like talking, and his interviews and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to hear his talking voice. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they get some good tidbits on there too, and some like takes, like of songs, and they'll do a history and like today they said that he did like recordings for I think his album when he came back from the military, and he did It's Now or Never and a bunch of other songs.
He cracks me up in some of them videos.
I have a dirty feeling. They were playing that today.
He I always like him videos shows him in the studio when he's where he's rehearsing for a song and he's trying to record a song and he screws the lyrics up. He just go on with it, and then everybody starts laughing.
There he goes, or it's like, hold it, and you could hear him laughing in the background and start over, and yeah. I still have my mom. She lives down in Florida, Brandon, Florida, now in the Tampa area. She's pretty
But you
happy.
right about that. You right about that song you played at the beginning of the video. I listened to that and I looked at Christy and I said, "Listen to that voice." I said, "That's the same exact voice as on that one where Elvis was singing about going back home to Memphis, where he was cussing, talking about driving the truck and all that stuff. Same blues voice."
Yeah. Nobody could sing the blues like Elvis.
Nope. There ain't nobody
Uh-huh.
can sing like Elvis. I don't care who they are. Ain't none of them can match
They
him.
could, even the best impersonator can't sing like Elvis.
Nope. And me
Well,
and you
love
both
that
know who
one.
me and you both know who the best one is, and he's close, but I can tell them apart.
Mhm.
But
That's true,
What
Julie.
about it? Just tore the Graceland.
So sorry. Yeah. Well, my dad is 79 and my mother is 77 as of yesterday. So yeah, they're getting up there, but they're still alive and kicking. But I think I have like both of my parents, like my mother's father lived to 86 and my father's mother lived to 86 or 85, so like, mid 80s, some of them 90. So, who knows? Looking forward to the
Only
best.
one in my family that's lived to be 90, I can honestly say, is Elvis. Old Cubs, he's the only one I know of that's lived to be that old.
And Minnie May lived kind
Yeah,
of
well,
late.
anyway, I forgot about her. She lived to be 93, but yeah.
I thought she was 91. Anyway, somewhere in there.
No,
So he
she,
took the
she was
long
93.
life genes from her.
Yeah, she was 93.
um,
Got them long fingers from her, too. That woman had
oh yeah.
fingers on her look like candlesticks. I saw her fingers. I told Christy, I said, I could see Elvis when he's a kid, smart enough to Granny, and she reach out and snatch him around the neck with them big old long cream fingers she had. Man, her fingers were longer than Elvis's.
Looking forward to the best one. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that movie too when it comes out. It'll be kind of cool. It's about all this behind the scenes stuff that we've never seen, takes and stuff. It'll be very cool to watch.
Yeah.
He had a contagious laugh. Love it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no. I
Yeah.
could
And
listen
his
to him
sense of
talk.
humor was funny too.
I could listen to him talk all day and night.
want this?
And one time he just came out and said, God dang it. Well, not dang it, but you know what I mean. And he's like, okay, let's do it over. No one can compare to Elvis. Exactly. That is true, Rita.
Just on my face.
My mom's 71 and my dad's 81. Yep. Okay, cool. 79 and 81. Cool. And they're still up and around and alive. I don't know right now. That I think they're talking about the new documentary. I bet Bergman. What is his last name? Lerman? Yeah. Bass Lerman? Anyway, I know he's got something like behind the scenes footage and stuff that's coming out. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix or where it's gonna be, but anyway. Supposed to be kind of cool to watch.
Supposed to be a lot of unseen footage.
Yeah. Sometime around October. Yeah, probably. The movie. No title yet. I don't know the name of it offhand. Yet. Don't know the title. But I'm sure as it gets closer we'll find out. I'm not sure if it's unseen unseen footage, or if they name a certain footage. I think it was something like similar to like behind the scenes footage that was never shown from like Prince of Another Planet or something like
I know what
72 or
I know what I
70.
wanted to ask you, Joy.
What?
Is Austin Butler an American, or is he from overseas somewhere?
I think so. I think he's from New Hampshire. I think he's from the United States. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. Something kept telling me he was from England or somewhere. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't think so.
I
I
don't know.
can't tell you.
I mean, it don't
Well, that's
matter.
what you
He's a hell of an actor. I will give him that. He's a good actor.
Yeah, you'd have to look him up. I don't think he's English. I think he's United. I think he's from the United States, but
Let
I
me
don't
look
know.
him up real quick. Hold on.
Or Australia. Could be Australia too.
Yeah.
You know. All right. So those of you that weren't on at the beginning, I could play that song again if you want. Was it Austin Butler? Maybe from Canada. I might be wrong.
No, he's
Possibly.
American.
He's
He's
from
an
America.
American actor.
Yeah. Okay.
He's from Anaheim, California. He's 33 years old.
Yeah.
He
I
was
thought he was
born. Oh,
American.
get this. He was born August the 17th of 91.
Wow, cool. Oh, so he's an 8. He's an 8 according to numerology. 1 plus
Yeah, and
7 is 8.
before that Elvis movie come out, I'd never heard of Austin Butler.
He was yeah, he's from California. You're right, Sandy. He's from California.
Yeah, he's from Anaheim.
What are my thoughts on Elvis AI? Okay, so
It
these are my
sucks.
thoughts on Elvis AI. I'm going to tell you my thoughts, and Jim can tell you his thoughts. Okay, so I've heard some songs by Elvis on AI, and they lack feeling, artistic expression, runs, and like I'll say, I had one. I heard "Crazy Little Thing Called Love," by Elvis, made by AI, and if you listen to "Crazy Little Thing" called "Love" by Orion from the Rockabilly album, there is a awesome, let's say, very very similarities in the voice, but AI lacks the high notes where Elvis picks like what he wants to sing and he'll sing it his way, and AI sang it with his lower voice. But other than that, it was almost exactly the same. So I'd say it lacks feeling. Elvis AI music lacks feeling, lacks like changes in the voice sometimes when he sings, you know, because Elvis will change things up, man, nuances or whatever you want to call it in his voice, or runs. Anyway, okay, Jim, what are your thoughts on Elvis music and AI?
Same thing. It don't have no soul to it.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
kinda,
there's no life to it. But I will say this. Now, I don't like the Elvis AI, but I did listen to a couple songs that they did for Randy Travis because he can't sing no more because of that stroke. And those did sound good. They sounded like Randy. They done a
yeah,
good job on Randy, but them Elvis ones suck in my opinion.
yeah, because they lack stuff. Like Elvis could be sings with like a lot of soul, comes from in his inner being, and he did a lot of throat singing too, like like the lot of growl and stuff. And I don't think AI can do that. Like AI would make it sound like Ron Jesse is singing it.
But yeah, let me
That's
tell
what I
you,
think. Because Ron Jesse sounds like the Elvis AI music.
when Elvis opened his mouth, regardless whether he's singing or talking, he put out an energy. You can feel it.
Yeah,
Or that AI don't have that.
right. Very cool. Wow, Leo guy. Okay, I'm not sure. Yes, Austin's a good actor. Enjoyed him in the Elvis movie. Guess that's why Lisa was so close to him. Yeah, probably. Also, they probably built a nice friendship. You know, he's good at portraying Elvis. Yeah, he was. He did an awesome job. Yeah, anything is in my opinion, is a joke. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I do not like AI, especially Elvis. Sound I is so weird. And I don't like holograms either. You know, when they do the holograms and stuff of Elvis, it's just pales in comparison.
The only one that done.
Exactly. I totally agree, Joy. Not a fan. Always want to see the real Elvis or even hear the real Elvis voice as well. AI is a horrible invention. Yeah. I still
Hey,
kind of don't understand AI that much. I guess it's a little above my head, but
Joy, you talking about them holograms of Elvis. Now I'll tell you one that was pretty good. I watched it and I thought they done a good job on it. And that's the one where Elvis and Celine Dion was singing together on stage.
yeah.
Yeah, they
I
did
don't
a
know.
good job on that one.
Elvis eyes that talk. Yeah. Okay. Go back to good music. Right. Elvis touches the soul with his music. Yeah, and you could feel it. He adds a lot of like feeling in his singing.
Yep.
And no matter what he's saying, he could sing it and you could feel from the inside. Like
Elvis was the
even
kind
like
of person. He was the kind of person Elvis was when he opened his mouth. He got everybody's attention and they listened to him.
And he didn't sing
yeah.
a song if he didn't feel it that day.
Yep.
And you would
And
sing with a little bit more like even with Orion songs, when you listen to Orion and you listen to the differences between him and Jimmy, which their voices were very close, and Jimmy was a talented singer, and you could tell right away when Elvis was singing because he had such a power, like I
yep.
want to say, like you could feel like something about him, an attack when he's sang that came from inside. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Oh,
hard to
cuz he
explain.
cuz every time he sung, he put 150% in it. He didn't put 100%. He put 150% in it.
Like when you listen to Down in Mississippi, that song to me, when he sings like I made a song for my mama and he has that feeling in his when he sings, you can feel emotion when he sings.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like Jimmy, when he's saying he lacked emotion sometimes. Like he would sing just to sing or to be dramatic. I've actually given Jim some examples of that, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I guess that is Jimmy because it wasn't Elvis singing that," you know.
Now, I'll
So
tell you a song Jimmy did, and it wasn't worth a shit. I mean, he got a good voice, but he just didn't put the power and stuff into it Elvis did. And that's that song of Elvis is that gospel song, Crying in the Chapel.
right,
Jimmy didn't even come close.
right. And I also like there's a that well debated song because he lives that we debate all the time, but every time I hear that, I don't hear Elvis and I hear Jimmy. But that's me. Because I think Elvis would have done a little more stylistically, especially when he sang Tomorrow and it would go up 3 notes and he would have done some special stuff with his voice there. And he would have controlled that vibrato. Because at the end it was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, like I said, they sounded a lot alike, so sometimes it's hard. It's two Francis. Yeah, I just don't know. AI is just his son calls AI trash. I don't know what my son thinks of AI. I should ask him. I know AI is from the real deal. Yeah. So don't watch. Right. Okay. I watched last night the story of the 7 girls that brought Elvis a cross pendant and how Elvis eventually gave it to the little girl at one of his concerts, and it touched my heart. Oh, yeah. He had that tendency to give. He used to give a lot away. He didn't like to receive. He liked to give. Elvis did.
You know, I posted several of his things about him, things he did for sick children and all that stuff on the group there, showing his
Yep.
generosity.
Hmm. Hi, Jack. How are you tonight? Love Ease Down in Mississippi song and Hit the Bricks. But I guess I just love all of Ease songs, period. Right. Well, Hit the Bricks was from Spelling on the Stone album. And I mean, I just love that song. And there's so many clues in that. Like he said, he checked the cards and it was time to go. you know? Those types of things. It was time to hit the bricks. It was time to call it quits. It was time to start something new. Loved Elvis, the true dear. Yeah. Yes, he did. We do not know where Elvis is. I don't know if that helps you.
If we did, we couldn't tell him.
Right. We wouldn't be able to tell you anyway because it's against, he's got to be safe. All right. Yeah, many hints. Yeah. Okay.
Start the party
So,
in a safe place.
well, we could say this. We could say the image is dead, but the man is still alive and living, but we don't know where because it's a secret. And he's well guarded. All right. It's for his safety that
Oh yeah, I mean
we
that's
leave him
like me.
alone.
That's
Ah,
like me. That's like me being third cousin with him, and I do. He does contact me here and there. Hell, I don't even know where he's at.
right. I know. I think that there's only like 1 or 2 people that actually know where he is, and of course the people that are with him, his security team and all that. But I think he just likes to live as a private citizen, and he. All we know is that he is like very old, deals with a lot of sickness or pain and neuropathy and everything, and in and out of a wheelchair and stuff like that. A lot of doctor's visits. Yeah. He's not like active out. Well, he might go out in public now, but I think anybody who does come in contact with him, they are signed with a very tight-lipped NDA, especially doctors and things. All right. Right. I don't know about that. I don't know where he is, honestly, and it's for his safety. He doesn't want to be found. He doesn't want to be hounded. He just wants to live the rest of his life in peace with the Lord. He's still a very Christian man. It's true, Purple. How have I been doing? I'm doing fine. How about you? Are you doing fine? All right. I'm alive and kicking. All right. Okay, so, well, I don't think that we could do that for you. I don't have a way of talking to him, so. Anyway. You love those songs? Yes. Okay. So, mm, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm alive and kicking. All right.
Thanks.
So she wants Jack, I guess Rita, no, Diana Smith wants wants to know why you need to talk to him. I don't know. I'm reading Elvis Files at the moment. XX. Oh, hi, Pendragon's Den. Yeah. Well, we are reading the Elvis Files now, too. We're in the middle of file number 5. It's a long chapter, so I'm breaking it up into pieces. For me.
That's crazy.
Okay. Love your name.
Oh, yeah, who don't?
Yeah. Well, sure. All right. So I guess we're probably gonna finish by I can replay the song if you want me to, and that we began with, and we will finish and sign off at the end of the song. And you guys have a good night. God bless, and I'll be back on next week with some more of the last of that chapter. And we all agree that some of the information that she has said in that chapter is incorrect. All right. And any of you guys that joined on in the middle of this can
You
watch
want to
the
let
beginning.
them? You want to let them give them an update on Pepper?
Oh, yes. There is an update for Pepper Ritter. I think Jim had gotten in touch with her if you guys were interested. Okay. So go ahead, Jim. What's the update on Pepper?
She was basically saying she was doing better, still having trouble with her voice. Her daughter had that brain surgery to remove that cyst, and apparently her daughter is doing pretty good. So
Yes, praise God for that. God is good.
she was thanking everybody for the prayers because I told her I was going to put her on the prayer list on the group.
Yes. Yeah, so God is good. And we do read Pepper Ritter's book, Don't Cry Darling, on YouTube every Thursday night at 8:30 or 8 o'clock. Some nights it depends. On here, I usually try to be on at 8 o'clock. Sometimes it's 8:30. So next week, I'm probably going to plan for 8 o'clock, but I will let you guys know. And it will be here, and it'll say what time it starts. So it's usually between 8 and 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So those of you that are asking what time I'll be on next week, and on Thursday nights, the same thing, 8:30, depends on schedule and Jim's schedule. Sometimes Jim likes to come on with me for these, so that's a good thing. So good night, everybody. God bless you. Does Elvis watch this channel? I am halfway through the book. I only got it yesterday. XX. As far as I know, he does not watch this channel, but you never know. I think he might have seen one episode, and that's the one with the real life encounters with me and Jim, part 2. When Jim shared his picture, that was signed by Jesse Elvis himself, and Linda saw it and shared it on her website. So Jesse Elvis saw that episode. She would burn it onto a CD and DVD and send it to him. I don't know if he's seen any other episodes other than that one. So I don't know if that helps you guys, but I answered that already. All right. Good night, all. And I'm going to put this on, and I'll put your comments up here, and you guys have a good night. Let me find it now. Where is it? Oh, you know what? We'll do spelling on the stone clip. That's 40 seconds long. You guys, good night.
On the stone.
The legend lives, never dies. It's up to you
Sing the song.
to decide.
Say the word, and I'll come home. Check the spelling on the stone. Just check the spelling on my stone.
Good night, everybody, and God bless. All right.